All right, everyone, welcome to the Movement. I am Zoe Levine, just reaching for all of you, or some of you may have gotten your nice little kits, fancy little bag of 3 different balls. The one I want to focus on today is the soft squishy ball. This is one of my favorite tools in the whole world to get started with caring for your hands and your feet, which we use and abuse to no end all the time in our daily lives and rarely have ways to actually care for them. So we're going to start standing. We'll focus mostly on the feet today, and I'll kind of add in little bits and pieces every week for what we can do with the balls now that we have them. Standing though, go ahead and stand tall. I would invite you to do this barefoot or in stocking feet, whatever, without shoes, if that is definitely without shoes, but socks are possible, I guess is what I want to say. Because this is going to go under your feet and provide texture and a little squish for your feet. So for starters, just stand tall. I'm going to aim a little bit more at my feet. You're not going to see my face. You're just going to hear me. It's down low. Standing tall, and I invite you to close your eyes for a moment if that feels decently comfortable for you. Eyes closed, and start to just settle into your feet. Okay, without shoes on, settle into your feet. And I invite you to kind of just shake anything, shake your body, move your body, bounce just a little bit, just to become aware of the fact that you have a body, especially if you have been in your head for most of the day. Just any wiggles or shakes that feel good to you, really silly and small, is fine. And if you, just an image that I love for getting grounded into your feet for a moment, to listen to your feet, you can imagine your whole body is almost like one of those rain sticks that when you flip over, all the little, it makes a noise and kind of trickles down into the bottom of the rain stick. So as you're kind of shaking around, you can imagine stresses from the day kind of shaking down, dropping into your feet, thoughts in your head shaking down, dropping into your feet, little irritations in your body at any level could kind of shake down and drop into your feet. And then while we're there, start to sense, what do you feel? How do your feet relate to the floor? So simple things are, notice if you feel more weight toward your toes or toward your heel. Notice if you feel more weight toward the inside or outer side of your foot, so inner arch or outer arch. And then notice a couple other things that are very much related to how you stand in your feet. I want you to notice the fronts of your thighs, especially right up above the kneecaps. And notice if the thighs are gripping, like you almost feel like the kneecaps lift. Make sure they're either dropped down, or notice if you have a tendency to want to grip those muscles right above the kneecaps. Ideally, we don't need those just to stand, but it's a common pattern, compensation pattern. Same goes for your glutes. Another thing that you might notice in this standing assessment is you might feel like you might squeeze your butt down towards your hamstring. So that tucked tail we've talked about in the very beginning. You might feel like you kind of squeeze your butt cheeks together a little bit. Just notice if there's any tension in the glutes, just in standing. Ideally, you can just rest in your bones. And that's it. And then you're going to open your eyes, and we're going to take that soft, squishy ball right under one foot, high Paula. I don't care which foot you start with, but just going to pick one. And we're going to start right in the center of the foot. So just right smack in the middle, and just stand on it. With the ball at the center of the foot, you can create whatever pressure feels best for you, right? So right now it feels totally fine for me to have all of my weight on equally distributed on both feet. For some of you, if there's any issues, you might back off, but just a soft ball, so it might feel fine. And then I want you to just move your joints around. Let your knees move, let your elbows move, let your hips move. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter what it looks like. You're just moving them around in space like they're little wandering satellites. And then you pause there and take a breath. And then you're going to go to a new point. So it's just position point pressing. It's just a very simple tool to start moving your bones around in your feet. Take the ball to the ball of the big toe. So you'll feel that bone there, and just step on the ball, on the bone. And you feel like the bone gets a little stretch, almost like you're moving the bone away from the other parts of your feet. And then go to the ball of the second toe. You're not touching the toe at all. it's under it. If it was your hand, it would be kind of the thick part below, right? Where the thickest, boniest part is, not up here, but down where the thickest part is. So that's where you are on your foot. And then you can decompress. You kind of take weight out of it, go to the third, put weight in, and you can really put all your weight on that one foot, and you'll feel this kind of spreading of the front arch. Decompress, go to the next one. So we're on the fourth. Again, stretching and spreading that front arch in a way that probably you don't get very often or ever. And then go to the ball of the pinky toe without seeing the ball squish out to the side. And again, you don't want to be touching the toe at all. It's pretty deep, kind of curves down, right? Next spots we're going to go, there's two places we're going to get to on the inner arch. So first one, let's just go in the center, right in the middle between the big toe and the heel. You want to go so the foot is kind of covering the ball, but the ball is on the edge, that inner edge of the foot. And here there's a nice meaty tendon there that we're just trying to give some space. We're working the fascia. And then get closer to the ball of the big toe, but it's still that soft tissue, and you're going to step there. So that was 2 points on the inner arch. And then you've got 1 point on the outer arch, right between pinky toe and heel. And then you're going to go right in front of your heel. So it's 5 areas. We call it 5 points, even though like the front of the foot is its own 5 points, but it's one area. From here, so just know that there's all those special points that we want to get. When you're doing this on your own for now, don't worry about the specifics. I just want you to practice and stay on the same foot. Just practice stepping that ball all over the foot and kind of having a moment everywhere. Right? So we'll do a specific pattern and we'll get all fancy about it. And I'll have some handouts that we can share and send out eventually. But for now, all we're doing is I've introduced some of the points, and then you're just going to mess around and step on the ball. And just be aware that our feet contain 1/4 of all of our joints in our body. And just as you're feeling this, notice how, oh, right, so I probably don't get movement and awareness and sensation in all of those joints ever, right? We're usually walking on flat surfaces and shoes that kind of hold our feet stiff. And then when you're ready, just let go of the ball and stand tall and close your eyes. And I just want you to feel any difference that you might sense between your right and left sides. So your feet are going to feel different. The one that we just opened up is going to feel more open, maybe more aware, but notice if that side, the whole leg might feel different, more grounded, less tension, longer, lighter in some way, right? So notice that difference and how easy it was to get there. And I always joke around, which leg would you rather, use for the rest of the day? Most likely it's the one that feels better and more open. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So we'll start with the specific. We'll start with kind of more of this pattern, this technique. Eye of the center of the foot. So the ball's right in the middle, right smack in the middle of the foot, right in the center, and you're going to step down on it. Again, you don't have to put all your weight on it if it's too much. You can bend your knees and start to move your joints around. I know you can't see me, but it really doesn't matter. My elbows, my shoulders, my hips are just moving all around in any which way, does not matter. It's just trying to get your joints to move in relationship to the sensation, this shearing. We're gonna start at the bottom of the foot. Hydrating fascia, getting things to speak more clearly. That's why we get this global change. It's not just about your feet. Head to the ball of the big toe, so that big bony mound under your foot. You can step there. You can decompress. You can go to the ball of the second toe. Again, we're not touching the toes. If it was my hand, we're not on the toes. We're not even at the height of those bones. It's below that, the thickest part of your foot. And if you have injuries or places that's too much, back off. You're in charge 100% of how much weight you're going to give to that ball in your foot. The next one and the next one. I'm on the fourth, kind of skating through. And that fifth, metatarsal head, that bony landmark there. And the ball's not going to squish out from underneath you here. It's going to stay under your foot, but still get that lift of the bone, right? That we rarely get stretches in. Inner arch, right between the big toe and the heel. Typically, what we know of our feet is they're a flat surface to stand on. We can bend at our toes and our ankles might circle. And that's kind of it. We kind of walk around life with bricks for feet instead of these supple hand-like delicious listeners that they're meant to be. Closer to, so we started inner arch in the middle, and then now we're getting closer to that big bone, but we're just south of it, really nestled up into that soft tissue. And then outer edge between pinky toe and heel. Kind of right in the middle between the two. And then right in front of your heel. So that's the specific, that's the technique, that's the making sure we hit all the most important points. But for now, as a habit in your day-to-day, if you could find a time to throw this ball on the ground and literally just step and breathe all over it. Give your foot all the stretches. It's like getting into all the nooks and crannies and saying, hey, remember what you're capable of? Remember the possibilities? And your foot's going to say, oh, yeah, I totally forgot. I had so much potential. I had so much to do. I have so many superpowers. And the feet really do. They're your foundation for literally the rest of your body. If you have two working legs and you stand, this is your foundation all the time. Right? So this is one way to start taking better care of that foundation. And we'll talk more and more about how many different aspects of your alignment, your digestion, your general well-being that your feet have so much control over, your breath. We'll talk about all those connections in more detail. But for now, just step on the ball, notice a feeling and difference, and then we'll continue to play. So let go of that. Stand tall, close your eyes, settle into both feet, and again, notice if this assessment feels a little different. Maybe there's a little less tension, maybe a little bit more that idea of listening feet, being aware of the floor. Maybe some of you feel less tension in your low back or your sacrum or your hips. I also recommend, even if you're in a small space, walking around your space for a moment, walking around the room and getting a feel for how your hips feel, what it feels like to walk on new legs, right? You're kind of in a new place with your legs. Notice if that feels different for you. And then find a place at desk or wherever you like to do your happy hamstring moments. And maybe I'll turn them on. Before I turn on music, just hang on here. We'll do a last little flow at the end. Find your happy hamstrings. Could be legs together, tail open, and just kind of hanging in and finding that space in the back line. You could be a little bit wider, letting your hips shift. But just hang out where you feel a stretch. You could add the bends. While we talk about some more ideas of where you might throw that ball down on the ground and have a habit of just stepping on the ball, make it so easy. A lot of people do this while they brush their teeth. I know we talked about that for calf stretch, so you might need to find a different place for one of those. I like it if you can slip your shoes off at the office and you're doing something like if you're on the phone or doing something standing. Some of you may have standing desks, or sometimes you make phone calls and you could stand then. And you can start creating a little playground for your feet with the soft ball and whatever you use for your calf stretch. You can create a little playground and just be stepping on that playground on and off, in and out, while you are speaking on the phone or working at a standing desk, or just taking a moment to think or taking a break from sitting. Yeah. Okay, we'll talk more about the playground, the foot playground. Let's find your way to sitting, and just with the last 3 minutes, we'll do some upper body movement and stretching with a little music here. Just sitting tall on your seat. We've started our flow a couple times like this, where your pelvis is grounded on your sits bones. You're sitting tall. You find your tuck and tilt. Roll into the back of your sits bones and the front. So a couple times, rolling back, and then arching high into the front. Just thinking the pelvis first. And then when you're ready, adding the whole spine. You imagine your head and your tail tuck forward. And then tail open up. It might be nice to start connecting your breath, exhaling as you curl everything in, gathering in your belly and your core, and inhaling as you unfurl and open head and mouth. Feeling weight, you're not punching. And exhaling, curling in. And inhaling, open. Adding arms, inhaling, arms up. As you open your chest, reach high to the sky, and exhaling arms down. You can sit on your thighs and forward. Inhaling, big arms up. Wide, 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 wide. And exhaling as wide as we usually do for snow globe. And inhaling, open. Stay at the top. Reaching high, high, high. And then one arm stays, the other arm drops. Take a side bend. You can have your feet out in front of you, or sometimes I like wide out to the side because you get that stretch in your hips a little differently. Then up and over. Inhaling as you reach bigger and bigger, and exhaling as you switch sides. Your own timing is fine. Last thing as we close, just find your consistency. Out long. Sitting back to the center, sitting high on your sits bones, noticing how your lower body feels different. Even just that little bit of moving to open up and find space in your upper body changes things. Like that idea of getting unstuck in work and decisions and everything, right? If we start with the body, you're gonna have a much better time if we're getting unstuck in the body. Unstuck in everything else can follow. Any questions before we go on that soft ball? Did that feel okay? Did you feel a difference side to side?
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, it's huge. I cannot tell you the power that this has. So for now, just start playing with it. Put it somewhere in your day. Maybe it's a thing that you do every day. Maybe it's when you see it around, it's just easy. It's in a cup somewhere, or your bag somewhere where you're going to actually use it, whether it's home or at work. And just start playing with it and see how it feels and what it changes. Going on a walk after having your feet so open like that is amazing. It's totally different than walking otherwise. So start playing with it and report back on how that feels. And that is it for today. Feel free to stick around with any questions. Otherwise, feel free to unmute yourself, say hi or bye before you have to run.
Bye, Zoe. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.